On September 24th, 1983, 11-year-old Sabrina Bowie was raped, strangled to death, and left in a soybean field in North Carolina by two young men. One of the men was 15-year-old Leon Brown, sentenced to the death penalty after 5 hours of interrogation. After nearly 31 years of imprisonment, he was pardoned by Governor Pat McCrory in North Carolina in 2015 due to new DNA evidence that proved that another man had committed the crime. This was released by Jonathan Katz of the New York Times. This is too common of an occurrence in our judicial system today, and many others don't have the chance to prove that they were innocent before they are murdered. My name is Anthony Morrow, Governor of Senate of Tennessee, and today I'm proposing my bill to the U.S. Senate to abolish the death penalty. Former Justice John Paul Stevens was pro-death penalty his whole time as on the Supreme Court, and he has recently changed his mind and is against it and has different ways that we should go about to abolish the death penalty. This video lasts about a minute and 26 seconds. So to go along with what he had to say, deterrence is something that the death penalty lacks. Deterrence is a threat to deter people from offending. So if you look at murderers, most of the time they don't care about the death penalty because if they really hate someone, they're going to do it anyway, no matter what the consequence is. The death penalty doesn't change the way that they think. Most of the time when somebody murders somebody, it happens in the heat of the moment. So let's take speeding, for example. If they sentence people to death for speeding, how many people would do that? Most of us wouldn't. Most of us would obey the actual speed limit. So therefore, that is a deterrence towards the criminal justice system. And the death penalty seems to lack that now. So a big question that comes up with this is, how come we should keep them in life in prison if our taxpayers are the ones that are paying for them to stay in there? Well, actually, I have a chart that shows that even after incarceration and the court system, you can see that if they don't go for the death penalty at all, it is a lot cheaper to keep them in life in prison than it is to sentence them to death. Based on information given from the Death Penalty Information Center, Tennessee is about 48 more. It costs about 48% more to sentence someone to death and go about the death penalty process than it is to send them to life in prison. So going back to what John Paul Stevens said about the Eighth Amendment, he said that he would change the Eighth Amendment and add on to it that no cruel and unusual punishment should be prohibited, including the death penalty, saying we should abolish it. If you look at other countries, like ISIS and stuff that's going on, you see the crucial ways that they are doing this to people. And we think that it's okay to just put somebody and stick them in their veins and just go ahead and put them to sleep. Nobody has actually came back to tell us that doesn't hurt. So why do we still do that? Most peaceful way people say is to fall asleep and never waking up. But nobody ever came back and told us that doesn't hurt either, that they haven't suffered before that time. So why are we sentencing people to death? So Professor Austin Sarrett from Michigan University found that over 120 years that 3.5% something had went wrong when trying to give somebody the death penalty. And I also have a chart for that if you look up here that shows that there's the different ways that you are able to kill people in the United States. While being shot by the line of police officers that hasn't occurred in this amount of time, it doesn't mean that there's not a chance. And just like you can tell with all the other ones, they have either messed up one way or the other, and therefore that person's had to suffer, which is not what we stand on. So there's other different ways that we should go about people that have murdered or done other serious crimes. We could send them to life without parole. That way they'd be stuck in there forever and they wouldn't have anything else to do except be in prison and wouldn't have the chance to come back into society. Life without parole. So say you're 50 years old and you committed a murder, and they sentence you to life with possible parole. Uh, Almost every single time you have to serve at least 30 years before you're able to get out. So if you go in at 50 and you serve your 30 years and you are a good person in jail and they go ahead and give that to you, grant it to you, you're 80 years old. So most of the time they say that you won't offend again. It's still a possibility, but they give you a chance. Most of the time you'll be put on probation and other ways. So, how many people remember 9/11? Not many of us because we were all pretty young during this time. So, about a month before the actual event occurred, Zakaris Musai, he was captured by the U.S. And then ended up being charged with the 9/11 attempts. A single juror saved him from being put on the death penalty, so therefore he is serving life in prison. So since 2000, we're going to take a look at his life and see like what he goes on a daily basis and see if it's really that bad. So in 2006, he's been incarcerated for 23 hours per day in a concrete cell, not allowed to go out or do anything except for 1 hour a day. They release him into a concrete pool where he has no access to inmates and no access to guards except for moving him from one place to another, and most of the time they don't even say anything to him. So he has no contact with the outside world except the little bit of sky that he gets when he goes outside. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to spend most of my time just sitting there and not having anything to do during that time. So the next time you want someone to go straight to death row, ask yourself this: why do we as a country want to kill people who kill people to show citizens that killing people is wrong? Thank you.